2:15 a.m. on October the 6th, 2025, a formation of Boba and UJ-22 loitering drones skim the Black Sea like predators on a hunt. Dozens fanned across 3 corridors: the Crimean coast near Feodosia, southern approaches by Mykolaiv and Odessa, and the rail spine into Belgorod and Kursk, each searching for a fuel tank, a rail tanker, a seam to exploit. They'd been aloft for hours, running on onboard autonomy and thermal seekers. In the minutes that followed, that swarm would turn vital storage tanks into infernos and force a logistics calculus no commander wanted to face. The first explosions came from Feodosia's coastal storage yard. Security cameras caught a flash, then a shockwave that rippled across the bay. Within minutes, a second strike hit a feeder pipeline. Flames climbed hundreds of feet, visible from across the peninsula. Boba drones, wood composite airframes with piston engines, aren't fast, but they're persistent. Designed for 800-kilometer range and 15 kilograms of explosives, they exploit gaps in radar coverage. The UJ-22s, faster and heavier, can deliver fragmentation or thermobaric payloads with near GPS precision. Together, they form Ukraine's long-range swarm backbone, cheap, adaptable and expendable. At Feodosia's docks, crews abandoned pump stations as alarms blared. Flames licked through containment walls. Foam trucks struggled to keep up. Every ton of fuel lost here meant fewer sorties, fewer convoys, fewer options. Analysts later identified 3 routes. One hugged the sea's surface at ultra-low altitude to mask against radar. Another followed inland power lines to distort signatures. The third tracked north along rail spines feeding Belgorod and Kursk, a direct challenge to Russia's logistics chain. Infrared satellites recorded heat blooms across multiple regions that night. Despite official claims of interception, thermal signatures told another story. Storage yards burning, tankers engulfed, and firefighters working into dawn. Inside a command van near Krasnodar, operators scanned consoles. Dozens of radar pings merged into static. The jamming was crude but effective. Panzer batteries rotated. Missiles fired blind into the dark. Every interceptor launched against a $20,000 drone cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's the hidden math. Cheap drones against expensive defense. Each launch drains budgets and reveals radar frequencies. Its attrition measured not in lives, but in rubles and readiness. Farther north, another strike lit up a storage yard outside Tula. Witnesses reported multiple detonations, secondary blasts, suggesting munitions. Local authorities called it an accident. Satellite images said otherwise. At a planning desk in Poltava, Ukrainian officers watched live telemetry feed, altitude curves, signal handoffs, heat blooms. Each drone was a line of code moving through contested sky. The results meant more than explosions. They mapped the blind spots of Russian air defense. By sunrise, smoke plumes twisted over Feodosia. Trains halted along refueling points. Refineries paused output for inspection. The swarm's objective was complete, not to destroy everything, but to force recalibration. Within 24 hours, Russia launched retaliatory strikes. Convoys of Iskander-M tactical ballistic missiles rolled from Western launch sites. Each carried a 500-kilogram high explosive or cluster payload, capable of hitting targets up to 500 kilometers away with 5 to 7 meter accuracy. The first salvos targeted fuel depots in Poltava and Dnipro, followed by Kh-59 and Kh-101 cruise missiles from bombers over the Caspian. These air-launched weapons, guided by inertial navigation and terrain-matching radar, flew low and slow, hunting transformer yards, rail junctions and repair depots. Utility workers crouched beside shattered substations, cables arcing in the dark. Each strike was aimed not at civilians but at tempo, the rhythm of movement, repair and supply. Where Ukraine's drones traded cost for persistence, Russia's missiles traded mass for certainty. An Iskander hit once, a swarm hit repeatedly. One side stretched reach through numbers, the other through payload. On command maps, blue arcs of drones and red arcs of missiles overlapped. The front lines themselves barely shifted. But logistics arteries pulsed, fuel eastward, missiles westward, in a continuous duel of infrastructure. Repair brigades moved in, patching fuel lines, clearing debris. Convoys split into smaller units. Commanders balanced risk against speed, move by night and lose coordination, or wait for daylight and risk detection. A fuel officer in Belgorod recalculated deliveries. Reserve depots diverted supplies, and frontline tank units reported shortages within days. Logistics, the unseen front, was under attack. The October 6th to 7th exchange highlighted a shift in modern warfare, long-range autonomy replacing direct engagement. Drones now reached deeper than artillery, and missiles answered across borders once considered safe. Analysts estimate that Ukraine's entire drone swarm cost less than a single Iskander launch. The disparity is the point: to drain interception capacity and force Russia to overspend defending rear areas. Before the attack, orderly rows of fuel tanks. After, scorched shells, warped piping, dark circles on the ground, visual evidence of disruption that propaganda couldn't erase. In Kiev's command center, officers assessed the trade-off: small payloads for strategic reach. Every depot hit meant longer routes for Russian convoys, and a lesson in how asymmetric tools could offset conventional imbalance. Russia redeployed additional Panzer S-1 and S-400 batteries to rear areas. Mobile jammers were stationed along coasts. The move stretched defense resources thin, the same outcome Ukrainian planners sought. Visualize concentric defense rings around major hubs: Moscow, Belgorod, Sevastopol. Each new ring protected assets but diluted density elsewhere, opening fresh gaps. Both sides adapted rapidly. Ukraine iterated drone software for autonomous swarm coordination. Russia refined radar filters to spot small signatures. What began as one night's raid became an arms race in microcosm. Weeks later, soldiers at the front felt the ripple. Fewer refueling trucks arrived. Generators ran low. The war's tempo slowed by fractions of a percent, but in prolonged conflict, that fraction matters. Back to that moment before dawn. Engines hum over the sea. Small wings glint in moonlight. No radio chatter, no pilot in a cockpit. Just lines of code following preset paths toward heat and metal. When they strike, it isn't spectacle, it's strategy. Fuel ignites, pipelines rupture, and across the border, planners recalculate once again. Modern war isn't decided only by armour or artillery. It's measured in supply lines, in how far fuel can travel before it burns. A $1,000 drone can challenge $1 million system. A single depot can decide a campaign's pace. At 2:15 a.m, those drones crossed the water. By sunrise, the map of the war, and the math behind it, had changed. But that's all from us. Thanks for watching Navy Strategy. Don't forget to subscribe for more real-world naval encounters and military conflicts.